Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Covenant Keeper for Life Marriage Podcast. I am Brent, and here with my beautiful wife, Miss Lucy, my co-host.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
We're happy to have you guys back with us. It's been a few weeks, babe, since we've been on the podcast. Where have we been? What have we been doing?
What do you mean?
What do you mean here? Here where?
Here at home, in our lovely home where we get to work, live, play, everything.
We do it all here.
Yes.
We do it all here. But you're forgetting one of the main parts. We went on vacation.
We did go on vacation.
Wow. I thought it was
I thought we'd done a podcast since then.
I don't think so. No.
I think we did.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yes, we went on vacation.
Where'd we go?
Nice 10-day vacation. And we
traveled the United States.
We did. We headed out
vehicle.
Almost. It was kind of planned, but kind of spontaneous, I would say, because we went to go visit with your dad.
Yes.
In Illinois for half of the spring break time.
Yes.
But then while we were up there, we decided to go to St. Louis because I had never been there.
Yes.
And so it was a family trip. So the kids were with us and
got to go up in the arch.
Got to go up in the arch.
Gateway Arch is what they call it nowadays.
I didn't even know you could go up there, but it was very cool.
How was that experience for you?
It was cool. It was awesome because you could almost see everything from up there, like the whole city.
That's pretty high.
So it was nice. It was an interesting experience going up to get to the top of it.
National landmark. Awesome.
So we did that. And then we went across over to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
To meet up. It's interesting how you say, wow, like you weren't with me. However, it was different for us. We've never done where we've gone to multiple cities.
Yeah.
So we went to Washington, D.C. and met up with rest of the family over there. And
when you say rest of the family, what is that?
Well, most of the rest of the family.
Okay.
So
well,
you were there.
Well, maybe our audience wants to know who we travel with.
So tell them.
The gang. Well, I'll tell them.
Okay.
All right, folks. So here we were. First half of the trip was myself, my beautiful wife, my 16-year-old daughter, and my 9-year-old son. So if you can imagine driving, how long? 16 hours in a car with a 16-year-old and a 9-year-old boy full of energy and excitement. It was an exciting trip. So if you haven't done that, I highly recommend it for every family to go cross country. So that was that part. And then we went across another 12, 13 hours to Washington, D.C., where we met a bigger part of our family, which was my mother-in-law and father-in-law, your mom and dad, sister-in-law and brother-in-law, their kids. And we took over Washington, D.C. I'm going to say it.
It was a lot of fun. We decided to all rent electric scooters.
Well, let me paint the picture here first, because yes, the scooters, definitely a highlight, which everybody in the family.
That was my favorite part.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
That was my favorite part of the whole trip was traveling around town on electric scooters with the whole gang.
Okay, before we get into the Puerto Rican posse. Okay, guys, we rolled up into Washington, D.C., and this is early April, right?
No, March.
It was March?
It's mid-March.
Oh, my gosh, it's been a long time.
Yes.
So anyway, guys, we roll up in there, and it's 40-ish degrees, 42, 43 degrees. It's raining.
Well, that was the next day.
When we got
there, it was nighttime, and it was
midnight.
Cold.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning. It was cold.
So the next day was when everybody wanted to go out and explore the city.
Well, we only had a couple days. We'd never been there. So this is where we decided, hey, we're going out. So we kind of waited for the rain to dissipate a little bit, but not really. There was that cold mist in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
So we're standing outside of our hotel, and they have these scooters everywhere, which our brother-in-law, sister-in-law, they chartered them out the night before for a little bit.
Right.
We're like, oh, okay, we're going to do this. We've never done this.
Right.
So we got everybody on scooters. Your mom, your dad, the entire family, all the way down to our 9-year-old son. So we got, how many people is that? How many? I don't even know. So that's 2,
10,
4, 6. Yeah, 10 people.
10 people.
So 10 people lined up on these electric scooters rolling through the streets of Washington, D.C. in the rain, going to the monuments. So we went to Lincoln. I mean, whatever you can think of in Washington, in that downtown area, rolling through the streets. Had so much of a great time. Went back to the hotel, got food, still raining outside. We're like, man, that is so awesome. Let's go again.
Well, we did have a mishap that night.
Well, no,
because my mom fell off the scooter
that's at the end.
right before we got to the hotel, like literally feet from
Yeah.
the entrance of the hotel.
Well, yeah, because we rode around for like 2, maybe 3 hours on these
Yeah.
things at night.
And it was fun. Everybody
was a
had
blast.
fun.
It was a blast.
But unfortunately,
We had a casualty.
the close of the night was not so much fun because my mom fell from her scooter.
Evel Knievel style.
Yeah, and hurt her shoulder.
Mhm.
And we didn't know how bad until we actually got back home.
3 days later.
No, 2 days.
Well, it was 3 days before she went to the doctor.
That's true. That's true because she would not go to the doctor while we were in Washington.
She wouldn't go to the emergency room.
She said, I don't want to ruin our fun while we're still here or your fun.
Yeah.
I'll just go see my doctor when we get back home.
Wow.
So,
well, that's cool because that's going to take us into our topic today, talking about emotions versus actions.
Yes, which we read, actually found this morning on our devotional.
Yeah.
It actually comes out of the 5 love language devotional.
Devotion minute. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. The 1 year love language minute devotional by Dr. Gary Chapman.
Yes. We want to give credit where credit is due. This is not ours. This is somebody else's, but we like to read a devotion every morning. And sometimes when I have my quiet time, I'll just pop into the devotion myself on my phone because we have it on hard copy, but it comes up on my devotions of the day. But this one came up today, and it's always fun to talk about emotions versus actions because a lot of people have different perspectives when it comes to emotions.
Well, everybody's got emotions, baby.
Well, they do, but the way people handle or kind of work through their emotions very different.
Or lack of handling their emotions.
Well, if you're not educated about the way we should handle our emotions or how to respond,
right,
then you could do some real damage in relationships.
Yeah.
Specifically in the marriage relationship.
Oh, 100%. I mean, how many times when you say educated, I'm hearing what you learn, right? Which is, in essence, does educate you, but like how you learn to handle your emotions.
So hold on a second, because we jumped into the topic, but it was from my mom falling off the scooter and not wanting to go to the hospital, and you jumped into it. So I want to know how
I jumped in. I think you jumped in.
Which brings us to today's topic.
Which, yes, I was going to talk about that because bringing it back to tie it together officially.
Okay, so what?
Your mom could have been led by emotions that night.
Yes.
And said, okay, the emotion is, whoa, I just fell. I just got hurt. I want to go to the hospital. This is over. Take me home. She could have done that, and it would have been justifiable, right? But she made a choice to do different actions.
She did.
She got up the next day and says, you know what? I'm not 100%, but let's enjoy our day here, our last day in Washington,
right,
as a family.
Yeah, because we were driving back the next day.
Right.
So, yeah, that is true.
Right. So that's how I kind of see it tied together, because sometimes you may be emotionally hurt. You may have emotionally fallen down, and you may feel it's justifiable that, hey,
lash out at somebody.
I'm going to do this, this, and this.
Well, yeah.
But then following through the actions, like, what would be better? And even a better question, what would God have me do in this situation?
Which is great, because with this particular devotional, they stated Psalm 19:13-14.
Yes.
It says, keep your servant from deliberate sins. Don't let them control me. Then I will be free of guilt and innocent of great sin. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. And of course, many of you know that scripture. That was David asking God to keep him from those deliberate or willful sins so that he could be counted innocent.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I love the devotion because it made some great points.
Yeah. Like what?
Because emotions impact every marriage. I mean, every relationship, but because we're kind of sticking to the topic of marriage, people do some real damage to each other in marriage because of how they feel.
Right.
And I don't know. I believe that if people could maybe tune in more to why they're feeling the way they're feeling, in that moment, instead of letting the words just slip out to hurt the other person, that they should maybe just for a moment kind of get with God before they speak and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? And what needs to be done right now? Because typically it's like, okay, I feel hurt and I'm going to hurt somebody.
Well, I think it's important. Yes, I agree with everything you're saying, but I think it's important for people because you can say emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just saying that word emotions means different things to different people. So let's kind of look at what emotions is first and foremost, right? Because there's different kinds of emotions. Like, you can be happy, you can be sad, you can be angry, you can be frustrated, you can be
Irritable.
Mm-hmm. There's many, many different emotions that play that out. So why do we have emotions? Like, are emotions good? Is there a purpose for them?
Well, I mean, God gifted us with the emotions so we could experience life more full, I guess, or fuller, or to the fullest.
Okay.
So I mean, they're God given, but of course, like everything, God allows us to have a choice in the way that we respond to those emotions.
I think that's a good point. You say that they're God given, right? And recognizing for all of us, with the Bible, you either have to believe the whole Bible or I say believe none of the Bible, right? The Bible tells us that we're created in the image of God. Each of us. I'm created in the image of God. You're created in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
And when we read the Bible and we read about the God of the Bible, he has emotions. It talks about him being angry. It talks about him showing love, forgiveness, right? You see God having emotions. So knowing that these emotions are part of that being created in the image of God, there has to be a godly way, or there has to be a godly purpose for those emotions that we have inside of us.
Well, and tying emotions, I know one scripture that always comes to me is the heart is the most deceitful thing.
Ooh.
Right?
Say it again.
A heart is the most deceitful thing there is, and actually it expands into desperately wicked.
Oh, gosh. Well, see, that goes against what the world tells us because the world says, follow your heart.
Follow your heart. Right, which in turn, right, when you follow your heart, usually people correlate the heart with the emotions and the feelings.
Yes.
But the response is oftentimes a lot more important because with that response, you're either going to build people up or tear them down.
Well, let's talk about that following the heart, and specifically in the area of marriage, which if you're married for any amount of time, there's going to be feelings and emotions that pop up inside of you. Like when your spouse says something to you that doesn't land well with you. Your spouse says something to you that could offend you or make you feel disrespected. My heart might say, uh-oh, I just got disrespected. My heart may say, I need to show you that I just got disrespected. So I say something that's hurtful to you. Because that's what my heart says, right?
Which is the typical response in a lot of relationships.
Yeah,
like,
that's the
you
flesh.
You hurt me, so I got to hurt you back.
Right. And you learn some of these things early on, right? Look at little kids. Look at little babies. Like when little kids, you ever seen a little kid like take something from another little kid? Typically what's going to happen, not all the time, they're either going to cry or they're going to lash out, scream, smack them back, pull their hair, like bite them. How many kids, are biters?
They respond to retaliate almost
you
like
hurt
you
me,
hurt me.
I'm going to hurt you back. So there's something innate in there, or is taught or innate, I don't know.
So are you saying that there's some adults walking around like big babies?
I will say that if you really think about it, when people respond to emotions in an unhealthy way, I do believe we might be a little immature, or we haven't quite matured in how to handle those emotions. I will say that.
Oh, that's the truth, 100%. But you know what? I do believe that if people were able to figure out those feelings before they hurt the other person, like really just in the moment, it just takes practice, right? Because nobody knows how to do it. In that moment to figure out, okay, why am I feeling this way? And then identify the behavior that they don't like, instead of lashing out to the person, I think more marriages could be saved.
I tell you what, let's take a break and let's come back and talk about that, how to help us identify those emotions.
Okay.
All right. Stay with us, guys. We'll be right back. Are you looking to strengthen your marriage? Are there reoccurring conflicts that continue to frustrate both you and your spouse? And could you benefit from faith-based solutions for today's relationship issues? At Tampa Family Resources, that's exactly what we offer. Check out our website today, tampafamilyresources.com. Hey guys, it's Brent from Covenant Keeper for Life, and if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. So let me explain. First of all, it's free. It gives you all the creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And the cool thing about it is that Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and so many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go now, download the free Anchor app, or go to anchor.fm, that's ANCHOR.fm, to get started today. Hey guys, thanks for staying with us. We hope you're enjoying the podcast today. We're talking about emotions, and specifically emotions in marriage, but this is going to tie across all different relationships. Mm-hmm. So right before the break, babe, you were telling us about a lot of marriages could be saved if we can learn how to identify the emotions.
Well, the emotions and what behavior caused you to feel that way. Walk
me through that. Let me just say, give the example. You're going to love this. You say something to me and I get offended. As my wife, i.e., I come home from work and you come out and meet me at the driveway, which you've never done this.
Okay, can we give a real example? Because that I can't even relate to that.
You can't relate to it.
We work together in the house.
Okay, say something to offend me.
Well, I did this morning. So we had a little communication and I said something that apparently hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go into detail, but it hurt your feelings. And of course, guys, this is, even though we learned about it, we help people understand their emotions and how to verbalize them.
Yes.
It doesn't mean we're experts and we never make mistakes. So
I think God helps us practice it so we can be more practical
in helping
others.
Sharing
the truth. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful.
He allows us to.
So I said something, and even though I didn't say it like harshly or
you had no ill intent,
right? It still hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. So it was literally maybe seconds after I said it that I could see that it hurt your feelings. So I had the opportunity to ask for forgiveness and try again, which we did.
Let's pause here because we're getting ahead of it. So you said something this morning that bothered me. Mm-hmm. I felt the emotion. Mm-hmm. It was very real. I felt hurt and offended. Now, because of where we've been and what we've learned, that's the first question I do is, okay, why do I feel what I'm feeling right now? What just happened? Now, this is the person that was offended, asking myself in that moment, why am I hurt right now? Why do I feel offended? So I have to do that, right? You saw it on me. You could see it in my face what was happening, but I had to ask myself that, right? Can you remember at that moment what response you saw in me?
Well, I just saw, first of all, I saw a little bit of anger.
Displayed how?
Just in your tone.
Okay, so my tone and my voice
changed.
Okay.
And I mean, you weren't like yelling or anything, but your tone changed, so I could tell the fluctuation in your voice.
Okay.
When you're offended or hurt. And then I could see emotion on your face.
Okay.
In the way of sadness. So then I was like, okay, I need to make this right. Let's start again.
I didn't want to hear it.
Well, I know you didn't want to hear it.
Well, no, I'm being real. At that moment when I was flooded with that emotion,
Mm-hmm.
of feeling the way that I was feeling, I wasn't open at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that was my defense mechanism. Defense mechanism for what I was feeling at that time. And guys, you need to know this about yourself. When that feeling and that flooding comes onto you, recognize how you're responding in these situations. At that moment, I knew you were trying to apologize, but I needed a second.
Right.
I couldn't even receive it because I was totally flooded with this emotion. So I needed a second to kind of process what was happening and going on. Right? So what happened then, babe?
I gave you a minute.
Just like that?
I gave you a minute. You sat there and you processed it. And
Have you always been that way?
No.
Okay, let's talk about that, because that's for a lot of us out there that may not know this.
Well, I had to learn it because my marriage is more valuable
Right.
than that moment of an emotional high that was negative. Like, I've learned to understand the value of our marriage and basically just, please forgive me. Let's do this again, because my intention wasn't to hurt you.
Right.
So it's taken practice. Like, we've been doing this for 14 years, marriage, right?
Yeah. That's what I want to talk about, because you said before you learn that with your type of personality, it would be more like, I'm going to squeeze this out of you right now. Like, we're going to get through this.
Oh yeah,
I would
come after you because I want to get it. I want to get it fixed and handled, but I want to do it like now, my way. Stop running away from this. Talk to me. Kind of like,
that's what I wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. Like getting at you.
And in that case, in that dance that we would have, the harder you would come after me, the further I would pull away.
And the louder I would get.
And the louder you would get, and the more angry I would get. And it would just be a lose-lose situation.
Right.
Yes. On the flip side, these things that we're sharing today was like, okay, I've learned I need to understand why I'm getting upset. You've learned, okay, give him a minute. He needs it. Right. So we kind of, in essence, went to our proverbial corners and had a moment for each of us to have that, hey, let's take this to Jesus moment. Well, instead of battling each other in that heightened emotional state.
Well, and I believe like that's kind of the message for today is understand that emotions are going to come. Like they just come. Like you don't have a handle on them. When somebody says something, you're going to feel some kind of way.
Right. Yeah.
What makes a difference is how you handle those emotions afterward. Because the way you handle them can be right or they can be wrong.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And all emotions are not bad. I mean, there's good emotions.
Right.
I mean, there's some emotions there to let you know, hey, things are going well.
Yeah, but that's not typically when people are battling.
Well, it's not when they're
not battling when they're feeling good.
But I want people to understand about emotions, because a lot of times we go toward the negative. We're not realizing there's a positive side to these things, right? But either way, it's like, okay, we have the feeling, we have the emotion. When we have that feeling and emotion that God put in us to help guide us, what are we doing with it?
Right. Well,
where do we go first with it is the question.
Well, yes, because they're God-given. Why not go back to God?
Excellent. Yes.
Since he gave us the emotions, go back to God to see how you can work this out without hurting the other person.
Right.
But since you touched on not all feelings are bad, like angry feelings or sad feelings, there is an awesome example that was given in this devotional that I want to share.
Yes, please do.
And again, this is from the devotional by Gary Chapman. So these aren't my words. I just want to share because I think it's excellent.
Yes.
That they put this in here. So it says, even if this is an example, it says, let's take this example. Even if you're happily married, you may feel an exciting tingle, in quotation marks, toward a member of the opposite sex who is not your spouse. The attraction is not sinful, but your actions may be. Take the tingles, there's in quotation marks again, to God. Thank him for giving you the capacity to experience this emotion and ask him to give you the wisdom for how to reignite excitement in your marriage so you can experience it in the proper place. The attraction for someone else is an indicator that your marriage needs attention.
Wow. That's awesome.
I thought that was phenomenal. So I had I wanted to read it so I didn't do it a disservice. But that's excellent because I am 100% sure this happens in every marriage.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes it causes feelings of guilt immediately to the person who feels like that tingle, right? How they put it in here. But the right response would be to turn to God with it, not to follow the tingle, because most people could get confused by that and say, oh my gosh, I'm feeling attracted to somebody else. I must not be with the right person.
Or there might be something wrong with me.
Or I might need to pursue this feeling to see, to figure it out, right?
Is it real?
Like, it leads people down the wrong path.
Well, that's the trap, right?
Right.
That's the trap with the emotion, because emotions can be misleading, right? Just because you feel something.
Well, isn't it just like the enemy to use something that God gave us as a gift to twist it and distort it?
100%. And that's a prime example, right? Yeah. Right? You have this natural desire, and part of you being a human being, it gets sparked for whatever reason. Whatever that feeling and emotion comes out of it, that's why it's so crucial where you're taking it to. If I take it to that other person,
right,
it's not going to go well. But if I can take it to God, right, and ask him, God, because he already knows what you're feeling. He already knows the emotion you're having. You're not going to surprise him. But bringing it to him and let him guide you to give you the wisdom of the Holy Spirit to help you take your next step in what you need to do. So maybe it is, man, I need to go home and get right with my spouse. I need to get home and get that fire burning back with us. What can I do?
Well, identify. I just felt this way. How come I'm not feeling this in my marriage? Help identify that, where that lack is, or where something needs to be strengthened. So temptation doesn't set in. And it's interesting because as you're describing that, it's almost like, when our kids need guidance because they're feeling a certain type of way based on something that occurred in school with another friend. And they come to us for guidance. That's why it's so crucial that we stay in God's word and understand how to guide our kids the right way. Because I'm just going to say, I don't know about you, but I remember growing up when I was younger. Of course, this was BC, before Christ, where your parents tell you, if somebody hurts you, you hurt them back, right? Like if somebody punches you, you punch them back.
Yes.
We grew up with that mindset. And of course, that's not to say that you go to school and become a punching bag because you don't want to defend yourself. Right. Of course, sometimes you're called to defend yourself.
Right.
You can't be anybody's punching bag.
Right.
However, that's kind of that eye for an eye mentality, right? As parents, learning what God says to do, right? We're supposed to guide our kids in the way that God would have them go. Just like when we take our stuff to God, he gives us the directions we need.
Absolutely. Man.
So the wrap up is basically let your emotions point you back to God. Seek his guidance and his will.
Well, it should. 100%. Now, I know we talked about in that area of, having those tingles when you may be looking at someone of the opposite sex, but not being led into it, but taking it to God.
Right.
What about in that situation like we had this morning, I wasn't having a tingling for someone else. There was something that stirred up inside of me. How about taking that to God?
Well, yeah, no, the same.
Well, no, I know it's the same, but I'm just saying we may not recognize that you may think, hey, that opposite sex is a little dangerous, but it's dangerous what can come out of your mouth in that moment when you feel offended.
Well, yeah.
It can do just as much damage if you're stepping out on your marriage. You get what I'm saying? It's that critical that we recognize those feelings and emotions and taking them to God either way. If I need to take it to God and say, hey, God, I want to praise you because this is something awesome you're doing in my life. Thank you for this. Or, hey, God, I don't like the way this feels right now. Help me with this. What would you have me do with this? And that's the key thing with these emotions, right? They're a God-given gift. Use them to honor God.
Well, and the way that he ends this devotion, which I loved, was when you follow his instructions, God's instructions, the emotion has served its highest goal. Emotions are designed to draw us to God.
Well, there you go.
So that's a good wrap.
Wow.
So thank you, Dr. Gary Chapman.
Absolutely.
For that awesome little nugget of wisdom today.
Guys, and if you want to get this devotion for yourself, check it out. It's the 1 year Love Language Minute devotional. You can get it online. You can get it at your favorite bookstore. It's a quick read. It's an awesome read. It's backed by scripture.
And it's a great tool for your marriage.
And it's a great tool to add to your collection to help improve your marriage relationship. So guys, we hope you enjoyed the podcast. We hope you enjoyed talking about emotions today. Be sure to go check us out on our website. It's ck4life.org. You can see some of the other different resources. I think the devotion is there too, where you can click on there to get it. Guys, stand for God. Stand for marriage. You're a covenant keeper. God bless. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out today's podcast. We really hope it wasn't only entertaining, but also empowering. Be sure to check out our website at ck4life.org. That's ck4life.org. Remember, stand for God, stand for marriage. You're a covenant keeper.